This is John McCutcheon, singer, songwriter, folk artist, dulcimer player, plays just about anything straight out of Smoke Rise.
Straight. I need that. I need that on a T-shirt.
It would
Straight out
be
of Smoke Rise. There you go.
so this is your 41st album in 45 years. That's quite an output.
Yeah. I think I'm. It's because I was raised before Ritalin. Well,
How
it
do you
was.
do that? How do you have such an output like that? Because some people take years to put together a project from the moment they start writing and getting the melodies down and everything to the final output. What is your inspiration for working so quickly and getting this amount of work out?
Well, in this particular case, it was probably the first time in my life that I had no impediments at all to writing. I came back from a tour of Australia in mid-March, and it was absolutely clear that I needed to self-quarantine to protect my family and loved ones. I've been in Australia for 3 weeks and then on a 24-hour plane ride. So we have a little cabin up around Ellijay, and I went up there with my dog. And when I write at home, it's time to come in and eat supper, or it's time to fix supper, or it's time to mow the lawn, or, I have to do an interview or whatever. And the whole world shut down. I had no commitments at all, except my agent calling me up and saying, well, another weekend just got canceled. So I wanted to use my time creatively, and once I just fell into that groove, it was part of what I did in the course of the day. And I was up there for about 3 weeks and ended up quite unexpectedly with an album.
Yeah, LJ is one of these places because I would go up there for the apple picking festivals.
Right.
Like it's beautiful in the fall time. And LJ is northwest Georgia up I-75, and folks coming down I-75. That's a beautiful place. So I can imagine that was very inspirational to not just the current events of the day that were helping to write these lyrics, but just being in that atmosphere.
Oh, and yeah, and some of the songs on this album were inspired by events that were very much about me sitting on the porch there one night as the sun was going down, and that kind of violet hour that is between sundown and dark. I saw all the little lights coming on in the houses in the towns below where my lofty perch was, and it inspired the song Vespers. I saw a squirrel raiding my my bird feeder one day, and I thought, there was a time in my life this would have really pissed me off.
I know the feeling.
So I wrote the song Control based on that. Other things came from conversations I had with old friends, and they would say something or tell me a story, or I would think about something that afterwards, and everything was fodder. Everything was grist for the mill, and all kinds of stuff came out.
Yeah, you could tell just from that whole listing of songs. It's about 18 tracks on this new
Yeah,
album, Cabin
it's a
Fever.
pretty generous album.
Yeah, they're really like very to the point. You could just tell that they had been inspired by just like that day, just like Frontline is your opening track. And
Right.
what came to you with that? Was there an actual news report, just simply generally reading and seeing how
Well,
nurses and doctors were
it's
working?
interesting. In what was it, 4 years ago, I had a cancer scare,
Hmm.
and I realized that all of the language in our healthcare system is warlike. The battle against cancer, and here all of a sudden it was frontline, and so the chorus just, you realize, and I have two brothers who were career Marines, and in talking to them about their experiences, when you're in the midst of things, there's no time to be scared. You just stand your ground. And so that kind of lingo came forward. And of course, everyone was talking about the front lines, but it's a group of people that we often don't think about until we or someone in our family gets sick, and you realize the tremendous skill and sacrifice that goes on, especially these people who, when they were doing their job, were not only putting themselves at risk, but you realize that they were sacrificing their time with their families. And they couldn't go home and be with their kids. And every day they went in, it meant another 2 weeks that they couldn't be with their kids or their spouse or whomever. So I'm always looking for those people that don't have an opportunity to get feted and write songs for them. This time, the whole world was realizing how important they were, and I just thought they deserved a song.
Absolutely. I mean, what heroes. And just as this is going on, because there's no end point to this, we just, with most news stories, I've been in news for many years now, and there's an end date, there's a campaign going on, there's an end date. With this, we don't know. So I think that's really beautiful to give a tribute to people who are really just giving it their all, and they're under so much tremendous stress.
And the interesting thing about what's going on, especially in Georgia right now, and I have no idea when this might get out to the public, but when we decide that we're just tired of wearing masks and tired of not going to the beach and tired of not eating in a restaurant or going to our favorite pub, all those people that we have said, yes, they're heroes, we're creating more work for them.
Absolutely. And
so it's a lot. There's a song I didn't put on there that was a really late entry called Killed by Stupid, which is basically saying, I won't be killed by stupid. I'm not going to go to the gym and get a tattoo and then go bowl a game, which was the first thing in Georgia that opened up. Like, that's the backbone of our economy here. It's, we're either, you would think those would be the last places.
You must feel like you can't keep up with this. I mean, here you put this release out, you can almost do one almost every month, it seems like. News is really going faster than I've ever seen it go these days.
It is. And, I keep getting asked, when are you going to write your Trump songs? And there's really a lot of low-hanging fruit. But it's not really funny anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm of an age now where what I'm most interested in is writing about the stuff that's hard, writing about those things where we might find some common ground. I mean, granted, if something really stupid comes along like alternative facts, if we agree to that, then every parent is really in trouble when they're talking to their kids. But having something that captures a moment, because my Cuban father-in-law once told me, he said, the interesting thing that happens in a totalitarian, whether it be a fascist or communist regime, is that everything has to serve the state. Everything is politicized. Art is politicized. Yeah. Newspapers are politicized and everything. And that's what happens. Your children become politicized. And I realized that that's kind of what's happened. Everything, the pandemic should not be politicized. It's a public health situation. And now you've got people, signaling whether they're Democrat or Republican by whether they wear a mask or not, which is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
So one of the things I'm looking for is those places where everybody can say, no matter how much we disagree on everything else, yeah, we got to give props to the healthcare workers and the postal service and the people who are bagging our groceries, for heaven's sake. These are people that are keeping the wheels running. Or as the second cut on the album, I mean, everybody was just stopped dead in their tracks when they heard that John Prine died.
Yes, I was going to ask you. So John Prine, how well did you know John Prine in your years?
I knew him okay. We had done several shows together, and the second verse in that and that song talks about a night at the Cambridge Folk Festival in England, where John and I and a bunch of performers had met in the hotel bar, and when the when the house band went on break, we just took over the stage, and the house band was never allowed to come up again. We just took over everything and shut the whole joint down. And every time I saw John or talked to him on the telephone, he'd always bring that up about what a great night that was, which also happened to be Stevie Goodman's birthday. And John and Stevie were really close. And so it was a emotionally charged night. And it was one of those nights that you just don't forget. And I'm glad I had an opportunity to sort of relive it via the song. But John was a genius.
Yeah.
He was, any damn fool can be complicated. His simplicity, his directness, his kind of sideways humor, and his heart just opened people up in ways that, has a better line than "there's a hole in daddy's arm where all the money goes"? Ever been written. It's just so, it says, or later in the same song, "my kids are running around in someone else's clothes." I mean, it says so much with so little. So John touched people in ways that, maybe he didn't even know.
So simple, but yet so deep. And it seemed to me like just after his passing, that all the analysis, the accolades, everything just came out all at once. It was
yeah. So it was another one of those moments where we could stop and say, yeah, we're all feeling this right now. We're all feeling this right now. And that's the interesting thing for me as a writer.
And it's personal, yet this goes into the whole theme of the Cabin Fever. It just all melded together. Here was somebody's personal and had passed away from COVID. And that to me is just, it's incredible. Sheltered in Place, that's the obvious track here. How did you feel about when you were writing that?
Well, that came from a conversation I had actually with the same guy who alerted me to John's death, Richard Bresnahan, my best friend from college. He's still at the college. In fact, he's the artist in residence up there. When I, as a 20-year-old, stuck up my thumb and headed down to Appalachia to learn how to play the banjo, he headed east to study traditional Japanese pottery. And so he and I have maintained a close relationship for 45 years now. And he happened to mention to me that the local Dorothy Day House had closed its doors, which serviced the homeless community. And it just made me think, wow, now these are people who have been sheltered in place for years. They are invisible to us. We all know them. They're at our stop signs or traffic lights. And what are they going through right now? So taking a commonly used term like sheltered in place in much the same way you had frontline, and sort of turning it 90 degrees and seeing what it looked like, and also using it as a vehicle to hopefully, what you try to do with any kind of art is open up people's hearts. And commonly what I hear about this song was, boy, I never even thought about that. And so, I mean, giving people a new idea, that's a pretty great accomplishment.
That's amazing. And the amount of time you spent in Appalachia, that's a hard area of this country, just the things that they go through and still are to this day. And now they're dealing with so many.
And it's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's still what I think about. It's why I felt so at home doing this project in the North Georgia mountains, because finally I was back in the mountains,
Yeah.
Living down, I'm in the shadow of Stone Mountain down here, but it's definitely not the same as being up in Blue Ridge, Cherry Log, LJ, Jasper, that whole area where you're actually perched up there, and it just feels like home.
Are you that disconnected up there? Is it the cabin is just so far out into the woods that's you basically unplug?
Oh, I definitely unplug. But I've got internet there, and we have electricity, and excuse me, there are other cabins around, but at that particular time, there was no one around because so many of those cabins up there, people rent them out, or they don't. There's only a handful of people who live there full time, and I was essentially living there full time.
Yeah.
And had I not had a family at home, had I not been traveling from across the world, I wouldn't have been there. So it was a particularly isolated time.
So you had a whole batch of songs, like 30 songs, before you went into quarantine?
Yeah, I probably wrote about 25 or 30 songs. And, when you don't have any disturbances, you write a song and say, oh, well, cool, let's strike while the proverbial iron is hot, and let's start another one. And there's some that are languishing because I got to a point where I just didn't know what I was going to do with it anymore. And luckily, I have a little studio set up there so that I could quickly run and remember the melody because I only write down the words. So it was a lot of being out on the porch and dashing down to the studio below and doing a quick demo, and then coming home finally after 3 weeks back to Smoke Rise and going into my little home studio and doing a crash course and learning all the songs, recording them, and then sending them up to my engineer up in the DC area who magically makes me sound good.
It takes now we have all these nice tools on our little laptops and everything. It's just so much easier in certain ways, but you still have to have that talent as an engineer.
Oh gosh, you have to have ears, and you have to know what technology to call on to serve you. And this guy Bob Dawson is his name. He has studios up there called Bias Studios, and he's been my engineer forever. He just knows what my voice sounds like. He knows what makes me sound good, and we know one another so well that I completely trusted him in taking 2 or 3 vocal passes and constructing one acceptable one out of it, and he was dead on 99.9% of the time.
That's fantastic. How does the whole process start for you? And we probably talked about this before, and I know this probably gets asked a lot. Lyrics first, then melody. Melody comes first, then right to the melody.
Yes, all of the above.
Either way, you can switch it up.
It just depends. In this case, it was mostly the lyrics that came first, but you have to have some kind of a rhythmic tempo to the way that the words are written and the way they fall off your tongue so that you know that you can't put the accent on the wrong syllable for a particular meter. And a melody seems to kind of organically develop out of that. I've tended to go for simpler melodies. Thinking back to John Prine, I remember I was in some kind of a writer's workshop with him at some festival, and I happened to say, well, look how much use John Prine, for instance, gets out of 3 melodies. And he turned to me and says, I have that many? So generally the lyrics come first, but sometimes the music comes first. And in each case, whatever begins kind of speaks to the other, and it tends to fall into place pretty quickly.
Nice. There's one track that kind of stuck out called "Dog Talking Blues." What is the origin behind that?
Well, there is a form called the talking blues, and I just happen to have a guitar here with me. Let me make sure it's all plugged in here. There's an old form called the talking blues. I first heard it from listening to Woody Guthrie records that went... If you want to get to heaven, let me tell you what to do. Gotta grease your feet in a little mutton stew. Slide out of the devil's hand, then you ooze over in the promised land. Going greasy. it's kind of archetypal white rap music, I guess, and it was used a lot by different people. Bob Dylan used it. Pete Seeger used it. Woody Guthrie used it a lot. And I've used it a lot over the years, whether it be stringing together Yogi Berra's malapropisms or even, well, on this one, in this case, it was My Dog Talking Blues. Pets are loving this pandemic. I mean,
Oh, I know.
you know, my dog don't know no quarantine. She's just happy I'm around. She'll fall asleep right at my feet, never make a sound. Content that I can sit for hours, reading in my chair. Sometimes she'll open just one eye to make certain I'm still there. Or maybe eating something. Getting clumsy enough, maybe to drop it right. So it's just kind of, it was a fun break from, number one, writing melodies. It's a form I've used a lot. And it just felt like it'd be kind of fun to have something like that on the album. This was one I actually intentionally sat down to write. Unlike the other kind of spoken word thing, The Bean.
Yeah.
Because I was talking to a number of different people who were, and my wife has this thing on her Facebook page that she puts out every night called the Virtual Diner. What are you eating tonight? And inevitably, first of all, people were eating better than they'd ever eaten normally in their suppers. You're seeing all this at our house too. We're really working on the COVID-19, if you know what I mean. But lots of people seem to be discovering beans for the very first time as a staple in their meals. And now, being married to a Cuban,
Yeah. Easy protein.
they're pretty standard fare. And it starts off, I'll never forget the first time, though you may think me crazy. It was in a mountain kitchen, the Kentucky town of Daisy. 'Twas there at Roscoe Holcomb's house. At supper time was spread that Appalachian staple, that is soup beans and cornbread. Now the bean in question, pinto, and the cornbread never sweet. Add onions and some chow. It's the finest thing you'll eat. And it goes on, of course. It's a paean to beans. And it was just one of those things that, look at everybody's discovering beans. Well, beans have been a part of my life forever. So I thought, there's nothing that's not worth writing about.
So have you been cooking a lot more? Is your wife Carmen, who is also an artist, I believe, and
she's a wonderful children's book author, Carmen Agrediti, well known and loved throughout Georgia. We've been cooking these amazing meals, and tonight I'm making a recipe I found in the New York Times for ginger chicken thighs.
Nice.
And it's something I had to prepare a marinade yesterday and leave it overnight. And we're also having bourbon peach ice cream.
That sounds very good.
I know. I'll save you some.
It sounds wonderful.
So we're experimenting a lot. And every now and again, like last night, I said, "Are you tired of cooking?" She said, "Yes, I am tired of cooking." I said, "Let me make tacos." So, it's not always, more elegant fare. But what's really nice is that we're actually sitting down and eating together, and we're making that a much more regular part of our work of our day, because our work a lot of times intervenes. And if she's in the middle of either a deadline run, or she's just in the groove, or if I am in the groove, we each know enough about this kind of work that it's like, no excuses necessary. I totally get it. There's a plate in the oven waiting for you. So, but this period of time, we're just saying, let's sit down and eat together. It's been wonderful.
So how does it work? Was she in the cabin up there with you for a time, or some of the time, or
Oh
any of the
no,
time?
no, we were. I was off in Australia, and I was there. I think actually the day I left, which was the 16th of March, was the first time I heard people actually taking it all seriously. I'd been at these festivals in little malarial tents with 3 or 4 thousand people who would, come up to me afterwards and throw their arm around me and says, "Let's take a selfie, mate." And then go into a concert hall with 400 or 500 people. And it was, nobody was taking it seriously. I mean, it hadn't really hit. And then I'm on an airplane, which is like a winged petri dish for 24 hours. And so I got home and it was like, I'm not taking any chances. Plus, Carmen's 89-year-old mother lives with us. And it was the only responsible thing to do. So no, we did not see one another essentially for 6 weeks.
Yeah, that's amazing though, how you can do that. And you both could do these things. Your work, you could do it from home. I mean, a lot of people
Yeah.
can't do that. And if you're at home a lot sequestered, and there have been lots of tales of people being sequestered, and it wasn't easy for them. Uh,
No, no. I
yeah.
remember. I remember seeing a poll that, after 3 or 4 weeks, uh, a majority of parents said they would consider homeschooling, and I just thought, give it another 3 or 4 weeks. We'll take another poll and see how they still feel about it. And in fact, an op-ed in the New York Times this morning that said, the nasty truth of these times and the law of the pandemic is you can have children or a job, but it's damn near impossible to do both. So, you do your work in fits and starts. You squeeze it in when you can. I have a friend who's a poet who writes beautiful, concise, tight little poems. And I said, gosh, I wish I could write like that. How do you do that? She said, I'm a mom. I have like an hour a day I can actually write. This is as much as I can get done. So you fill the time with what you have.
What a talent. So obviously you miss live performing. That's
I do. I do, though, I'm pushing 68 years old right now, and a lot of my friends and family are saying, so you're old enough to retire, you're collecting your union pension, you're on Social Security, you got Medicare, what are you going out there for? And I feel the most like I'm doing my job when I'm in a room with a few hundred people, and for that couple hours maybe we're able to jointly construct some kind of community, even if it's for just an hour or two. And I think that was my introduction to music, to concerts. The first concert I ever went to was Pete Seeger, and his concerts were all about not only community but about participation. You became part of a choir when you walked in there, and that sense of we're creating this thing in concert with one another became a touchstone for me that I really miss right now. And I'm trying to learn this new technology that's wrapped around this new art form of doing these online live streaming concerts that somehow knits together, 1,200 people who are stopping in from all over the world.
yeah,
And
strange feeling.
it's a form that I don't think is going to go away. But live performance will never go away for me. I think things are going to be really different for a couple of years. I was talking to Eddie Owen out at the his great venue out there, the Red Clay Music Foundry, and it holds nearly 300 people. And he said, according to the guidelines, I could put maybe 60 or 70 people in here. And it makes, it puts the infrastructure of our entertainment industry completely, on edge. So I'm starting to do a lot more concerts where it's sponsored by, say, the Red Clay Music Foundry, and they sell tickets, and
Yeah.
they get a cut I get a cut, my agent gets a cut, because this ecosystem in which the entertainment world lives requires that we have presenters and that we have agents. And those two forces haven't been making any money on these live performances. I mean, what most live performances is busking, essentially.
Yeah, that's really what it is, just electronically.
It's electronic busking, and but it's what we got. It's the new abnormal, and we're all trying to learn new things and be creative. I mean, with this album, for instance, I realized the reason that it's an online only, download only, is because I didn't have the money to manufacture a CD, and CDs really sell at gigs,
right?
But also, I did it this way because I had no money to do it another way, and then I thought, well, okay, let's look through the other end of the telescope. I don't have any money to buy your album, John. So I thought, okay, well, let's just make this a pay what you can. And I was relying on the kind of innate generosity that I've seen during this time. And lots of people who didn't, if you don't have a job and you don't have an income, for heaven's sakes, you still need the music. Here, it's yours. It's free. That's fine. Because I have the faith that there's people on the other end of that economic spectrum that are going to say, okay, here's $100 for this thing. And that kind of stuff has happened. It's been I don't even want to say astonishing. I think it's been affirming.
Good. You have that fan base. You've developed such a fan base over so many years now. I think they feel dedicated to that. I think that's beautiful. You could do this it's folkmusic.com. Go right to it. It says Cabin Fever. You just click on that, and you can download and pay what you can. And
yeah. And if you don't have money, or you don't feel like it's worth anything, there's no questions asked. It's a complete act of faith on both sides. You don't know what you're getting. I don't know if you're going to pay, and you just sort of have to say, okay, I'm doing okay. I didn't, I'm working from home. I didn't lose my job. Yeah, I got a little spare change.
It's really, really nice. Good work. I guess we could just close this out here. Just if you want to play a little bit of the opening track, Frontline.
Sure. Let me get my fingers on here. I'm on a 12-hour shift, 7-day streak. Haven't had my children in over 2 weeks. I could tell you more, but I'm too tired to speak. This is life on the front line. Not enough gloves, not enough masks, not enough hands, and too many tasks. When is help coming? Everyone asks. This is life on the front line. On the front line, there's no place to go. Facing the foe where it's found. On the front line, there's no time to be scared. Pray you're prepared and just stand your ground. After my training, infectious disease was all an abstraction, just dry expertise. We were never taught to fight from behind. This is life on the front line. On the front line, there's no place to go. Facing the foe where it's found. On the front line, there's no time to be scared. Pray you're prepared, just stand your ground. Scrubbing down up, pray and jump in, day after day, again and again. Hopeless mission or a noble last stand. Sometimes it's as simple as holding a hand. And at the end of my day, dead to my bones, sick to my heart, and when I finally get home, I sleep in the basement. It's safer alone. This is life on the front line. On the front line, line. There's no time to be scared. Just pray you're prepared. Just stand your ground. I pray I stay healthy, though the chances are slim. I pray it's a battle that we'll finally win. But tomorrow, no matter, I'll show up again. This is life on the front line. But tomorrow, no matter, I'll show up again. This is life on the front line.
Bravo. Thank you very much. It's again on music.com. You could order the new album called Cabin Fever, available from your computer. That's awesome. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. Great to talk to you again.